All right, we're into our Notes app and we're starting from scratch. We do have four screens built, but you can see right here in the workspace we have no code, so no code at all. And I think the first step is to set up the screens. And so it's best seen on the Design tab. Here's their first one. We have a welcome screen, very straightforward. This is just a label, and then we just hard code the text in there. Welcome to the Notes app. And then this is a button. The text is create a folder, and then this is another button, see my folders. Um, and it's best when you're creating these apps to start easy and then make it more complicated. So we're actually going to start with just notes. So we're not going to worry about folders yet. Let's just create a note. And once we have that working, then we could expand to folders if we desire. But so this is see my notes. So welcome to the Notes app. We can create a note and we can see notes. So let's go create a note. So let's rename this to the create note button. And see my notes, we can change this to view notes button. And it's also very handy to use common language. So instead of view my notes being triggered by this, instead of see my notes being triggered by the view notes button, let's just make it view my notes by the view notes button. That way we don't get confused. So we have a welcome screen. So of course, then we're going to need a view notes screen. And we have that right here, already built, slightly different gray color on the background color right here. And then we just have three buttons. We have the back to folders button, which we'll make this the back to welcome button. And we have an add note button. And we have a delete note button. And then, so this is the tricky part. Up here, we have a note header label. Okay, so this is going to tell us information about the note. And then we have all of these buttons. Note button 0, note button 1, note button 2, all the way to note button 9. So since we started at 0, it goes to 9. These are 10 note buttons. And notice they're lined up perfectly, aligned, so their left edge is the same, and there's the exact same distance between them. And the way I did that was I had them all at X position 240, so that lines them up where their left edge is perfectly aligned. And then for the Y position, I added 30 to each Y position. So this one's at 50, then the next one is at 80, the next one is at 110. So there's 30 pixels of Y vertically between each of these, and they're all aligned to the same X. And then the most important trick here is that they are all hidden. So this hidden box is checked. That's why they're kind of slightly grayed out. So if you run this app for the first time, you won't see any of these buttons. And we'll explain that later. But so you need 10 view note buttons. These are kind of placeholders, and that's the view note screen. Then, of course, a little bit simpler, the add note screen. So this is just a text input, the note title input, and this is a note content area. So it's this screen element right here, a text area. And that's important because a text area allows you to type a lot more. If you're doing a text input, it really only allows you to have one line. But with a text area, you can type in whole paragraphs. So this is the note content area, and this is the note title input. And then, of course, the submit button is the submit note button. So this is the screen we would use to add a note. And then finally, when we actually want to see a note, we go to the note content screen, and it's just going to have a header here, and then it'll have the note title, and it'll have the note content, and then we have a back to notes button and a back to folders button, which we don't really need because we're not going to do that in this session. Okay, so there we go. So those are our screens. Again, it's the welcome screen, just a label and two buttons. It is the view notes screen with a few buttons, a label, and then a few buttons at the bottom, a label, and then 10 hidden buttons aligned on the right. And then we have an add note screen, which is a text input, a text area, and a button. And then finally, we have a note content screen, which is this a label button, and then there's like a header label that's here that's got nothing in it. Okay, so there you go. So that's setting up the screens. I didn't spend a lot of time on making them look pretty. I think do the basics, maybe add a little background color, and then get right into the code, and then you can come back at the end and make them look exactly the way you want. All right, good luck designing those screens.